Hey everybody, Papa Dennis here, and another video on Logic Pro. This time I'm going to do a grand tour of Logic Pro. I'm going to quickly go through many of the features that are built into Logic Pro 10. It's very powerful. I think it's great value at $200 US. The only drawback to it is you can only run it on an Apple computer, MacBook or an iMac or a Mac Mini. It does not run on iPads, just you need an Apple computer. So let's open a project. I'm going to go Logic Pro File, and I'm going to select New from Template. And they give you a bunch of templates to choose from. First of all, you can go an empty blank project. They have tutorials available. They give you one demo project, a Billie Eilish project. But I'm going to pick template, and I'm going to go with electronic template. Say choose. And what it did was it gave me a drum track, and it gave me 9 other tracks with electronic instruments. They're all synthesizers. Okay, let me just pause here for a second. I'm going to turn off the view of me there in the lower right corner. We don't need to see me while I'm going through the rest of this. It's a distraction, okay, and not the prettiest face in the world. Okay, that's better. First, let me close this window down below here by clicking on this pair of scissors. We'll look more into that later. But I think right now what I'm going to do is just record something. Show you how easy it is to record. And I've got the metronome set to click, and there'll be a 4 beat count in, so I know when to start. And I'll tell you up front, I have a latency issue here. What happens is when I strike a key on the keyboard, there's a pretty significant delay before you hear the note and it's recorded. And I'll show you that in a minute. You can actually see the delay. It's caused by the driver that I'm using that enables me to record the screen while I talk and while Logic Pro 10 plays. There's a latency issue that it's really happening because of the fact that I'm recording this. Let's do the recording. I'm going to press R and then start to play. Ready, set, go. Yeah, so it'll continue to loop, and if I kept playing, it would actually add the additional stuff from the second pass. It would add that to what was recorded the first time through the loop. If I double click right here on this recorded track, it opens the window below. And here, let's close this temporarily. Okay, so here's where I recorded, and you can see that if you look at the beginning of every measure, I was striking the keys pretty close to the beginning, but because of that latency issue, you can see they're all delayed. So they call this piano roll view, and I played, this is E, there's a B, a G, and an E. So I played an E minor chord, then a C chord, A minor, B, E minor, C, A minor, to a B dominant. There's an alternative view, score, which is very cool. That's what I played with music notation. And of course that can be printed. And if I wanted to, I could select everything by pressing Command A, and I could quantize by pressing Q over here. And it just shifted everything to the nearest quarter note. So boom. That latency issue has been eradicated. And you could also, if you didn't want to quantize too severely, you can make it partially quantize. Like say you want 90%. If you quantize to 100%, then it's going to sound mechanical, whatever you play. We don't quite want that level of perfection, so I'll go 90%. Yeah, so if I wanted to, I could add other parts here. I changed the bass track to something called punchy bass, which sounds like this. Yeah, so I could continue recording parts. I would typically add a bass and then some kind of a lead and maybe some more little things happening in the background. But that's basic recording. And let's look at the instruments. So I clicked over here in the far upper left to open the library, and here's the library window. And all these things, these instruments come with Logic Pro 10. And it's really an incredible collection of virtual instruments. We have all these basses, we have all these drum kits I talked about in a previous video, electronic drum kits, and all the ones that are grayed out. If I wanted to, I could download all of those by clicking on the little download icons to the right of each one, or if I clicked over here on this download icon, that would download all of the electronic drum kits. But to save disk space, I only download things that I'm going to use, or I download them when I need to use them. We have guitars, acoustics, electrics, and we have lots of keyboards, all kinds of keyboard stuff in there. Mellow instruments like marimbas and vibes, even a toy glockenspiel, a glockenspiel. Orchestral. There's brass instruments, there's choirs, there's harp, there's a celeste and a harpsichord, there's percussion, that's orchestral percussion, pipe organs, strings, woodwinds, and we have percussion instruments, more kits. We have a bunch of pianos to choose from. We have horns, sections, and by the way, under orchestral, we also have horns, under brass, of course. All right, trumpets, trombones. These studio horns, it's just a separate category of horns that they give you, and single instruments, studio strings. You have multiples here, right? Cellos, violas, double basses, violins, and then individual instruments, and then synths. And there's a whole bunch of these: bass, bells, brass, classics, EDM chords, EDM bass chords, leads, pads, percussion, plucked. We've got a B3. You want to hear the B3? Let's go with maybe, how about jazz organ? I'll put the jazz organ here. A vintage B3 organ. I was going to select jazz organ here. And now this track is now jazz organ. Yeah, it's not bad. Oh, lighter shade organ. Let's listen to that one. Yeah, I mean, I would say, considering that these all come with Logic Pro 10, it's an incredible selection of virtual instruments that you can play with for hours and hours and days on end. Clavinets. You want to hear a 70s funk clav? Okay, let's hear it. Or how about classic D6? Yeah, vintage electric pianos. These are basically all your Fender Rhodes and Wurlitzer pianos. Even Mellotron sounds you can download here. And then you have a whole bunch of world instruments, more keyboards, more percussion, more stringed instruments, more voices, more woodwinds. Arpeggiator. I've never played with the arpeggiator. Cinematic. ambient drones, sound effects, melodic plucks, moments, textures. So incredible instruments, incredible collection of instruments that you just get with Logic Pro. And I've talked about in previous videos the effects that are available. Okay, I just recorded something very basic on this clavinet track, this classic D6. I've already got a compressor on the track, which I'm going to move down here. And let's look at it. I've got, okay, the Studio VCA. Yeah, the red one. Okay, we'll go with the red one. Let's go a little higher ratio and make up just a little bit. Attack is pretty fast. I'll give it a little more release. And limiter is now on. We'll limit it so we don't, just to prevent any distortion. And we've got some soft distortion on, which is fine. There's a little control here for various levels of distortion if you want it. So, okay, now let's say we wanted to add some reverb. Go down here. Well, you know what? Let's just look at all the possibilities. You have amps and pedals to choose from, and there's an amp designer you can go into where you can select from all these amplifiers, all the cleans, all the crunchy amps, all the distorted amps, right? And you also have to choose from a bass amp designer, which is similar, only it's bass amps, and pedal boards. Oh, this is cool. You can select from all these pedals, right? You want a fuzz? Okay, how about a big bright fuzz? There it is. Okay. Moving down the list here, after amps and pedals, we have all kinds of delays. Delay designer, echo, sample delay, stereo delay, tape delay, distortions, a bit crusher, clip, distortion, and distortion 2, overdrive, phase distortion, dynamics. We have the adaptive limiter, basic compressor, that's the one that I showed you, de-essers, envelopers, expanders, limiters, a MultiPresser, which is a multi-compressor. That compresses selectively, you would say, various frequency ranges, and those frequency ranges can be anywhere you want them to be. It gives you 4 different frequency ranges, and you can adjust them any way you want. So you can selectively compress by frequency range. How cool is that? Moving down the list here, we have, oops, I'm up here. We have noise gate. These are all under dynamics. Now we have EQs. Your basic channel EQ, which I think I showed you in a previous video. Typically what I'll do with EQ is attenuate up to about 30 hertz, because anything below that is pretty much inaudible. So you can attenuate just to eliminate any mud you might be getting in your mix, and then you can change these frequency ranges. So let's say I wanted the boost in the mids. That's a big boost, or a cut, and you can narrow or spread how much is being cut or boosted, right? So EQ, that's your basic EQ. Also under EQ you have linear phase EQ. I don't even know what a match EQ is. Sorry, don't know what match EQ is. Also under EQ we have a vintage EQ collection, so some vintage EQs. Now we have filters, an auto filter, an Evoc 20, filter bank track oscillator, fuzz wah, spectral gate, imaging, binaural post-processing, direction mixer, stereo spread. I showed you stereo spread in a previous video. Metering. These are just, if you want to watch what's happening, you can have a meter available on the screen. Okay, if you want to watch in detail what's going on in any given track, you can do that. You've got a multimeter, even a tuner. What do you know? Modulation, chorus, ensemble, flanger, microphaser, modulation delay, phaser, etc., etc., etc. Okay, multi-effects. These, I think, this fat, I think, is a wave. Or is it? No, I guess it's not. Moving on, we have, that was multi-effects. You have these three to choose from. Oh, you can pitch correct, pitch shift, vocal transform, reverbs, chroma, EN verb, silver. Now, Space Designer, I remember watching a video one time where the guy talked about the Space Designer, and he felt that this reverb by itself is worth what you pay for Logic Pro 10. It's that good. He was very impressed with this. And I'm impressed with it too. I use it all the time. You have large spaces, medium spaces, small, warped, surround, HD surround. So let's say we wanted a medium hall, and I'll pick, how about a 2-second medium hall, okay? And I can control, rather, how much dry and wet. If I turn up the wet, you're going to hear more of the reverb. I'll turn it up. Moving on, we have an exciter and a sub-bass plugin. And then there's utilities, gain, input, output, and a test oscillator. So, yeah, it's a mind-boggling array, again, of plugins. And so now I've got this nice reverb and a compressor. Let's say I want to go back to that, this guy, this Fat FX. And give it some of that shimmer, some synth. Let's try Spiral Dust. Okay, not crazy about that. I kind of like Res shimmer. Okay, yeah, let's move on. You'll recall at the beginning of this video, I selected the electronic template, and that gave me 10 tracks, the drum track plus 9 others. And let's listen to them. Okay, it gave us that track. It gave us Epic Hook synth. It gave us classic house organ. It gave us Chicago chords. It gave us Downing boom. Okay, that's pretty cool. And it gave us sync wind up build. But of course, as I just showed you, you can take any of these and replace them. You can, well, first of all, you can just press delete and get rid of them, or you can go over to the library over here and replace them with any synth that you want. So I'm going to move this guy up by dragging him. Let's put him up here. And let's pick one. Let's go with the lead. And I'm going to try a couple of leads. Let me pause, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so I just arbitrarily picked this one called Classic Sinker. I'll play the song and play along with this guy. Let's talk about what you do on the output track. And I guess this would fall into the category of mastering. And mastering is the last thing you do to your mix when you're getting ready to bounce it out and save it as an audio file. So I'm over here. In fact, let me go to this view. I pressed Command 2 to open up the mixer. This is the output track right here. I've already put a limiter, and I've got it set up pretty much the way I want it. I could mess with the gain. And typically what you would add in your final output track, and all tracks, again, mix down, or all tracks flow through this output track. And what you want to do here is typically you do an EQ, and a linear phase EQ would be a good choice for this. And you want to, again, just do another cut here to make sure you haven't got any grunge coming out. And then if you wanted to add a little, well, there's actually some presets here, and they have mastering presets. So I could tell it that, well, this is a pop final mix, and it gave me that. Okay. I don't think I would actually use that reset, so I'm going to go back to default, which is flat. What I might typically do would be, again, eliminate the grunge, and then maybe a little sparkle way up here. Just a couple of dB, way up high. And I usually do a little cut in the mids. And if you want a little more punch in your bass, you can give a little bump here. And then also what's typically done is to add a MultiPresser under Dynamics, MultiPresser. I showed you this earlier. And you would apply some compression at different frequencies. I'm not going to go into that now. I'm not good at that. I'm not a recording engineer, but these tools are there if you want to use them. Yeah, sometimes what a recording engineer might do would be to open up a meter, and I'll pick Multimeter and play your mix. And then with that open, you can go to your limiter. Oh, well, first of all, I'm going to bring the gain up on this output to just a little bit below 0 dBs. And now I'm playing with the gain of the limiter. You want to push it up, but not too much. And I'm going to push it up very high, and I think you start to hear some distortion, which is not good. Yeah, I typically would not go much above 5 dB gain on that output strip. So, yeah, that's an overview of Logic Pro 10. So I think we'll leave it there. I've covered a lot. It's a fantastic app, great value, as I've said. And yeah, well, thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.